What you're about to witness is a show that everyone said could never be successful. Yes, they said no one would watch it because I'm going to talk about geeky stuff. Yeah. I'm actually going to give you a shortcut to the Constitution. See, this is what they didn't know. Oh, the Constitution, boring. Only the people that carry around the Constitution, and I don't really ever want to talk to those people. You know what I mean? You know, because they've read it and they all high and mighty on here are the facts. I've got a way around ever reading the Constitution, and it will solve all of our problems. Oh, yeah. I dare you not to watch now. So I have been a little concerned about the state of our nation. A little bit. Some might say it's close to civil war. So much of America's conflict is because of us being dummies. We don't understand our rights. Well, we overstate our rights and completely forget our responsibilities. And then we argue about stuff like, you can't give me a vaccine. Well, I'm going to give you a vaccine. And that's not going to work because there's no winner in that, right? Whichever one can shout the loudest or control social media. And all of this is happening while there's this undercurrent that is pulling people under. One of the buzzwords of this is reimagine. Oh, I like this. Reimagine our history. Reimagine the Constitution. How about reimagining, this is from the New York Times, the U.S. flag. May I show you a couple of these flags? Because they're fantastic. This one, for nearly 250 years, the American flag has been made and remade, evolving from a unifying emblem to a complex and contested vocabulary of symbols, blah, blah, blah. This flag, the familiar symbolism, falls out of focus, giving way to something ambiguous, vague, and difficult to define. Oh, that's exactly where I want to live. What? This one, the colors of our flag are intended to stand for unity, valor, and justice. The gray monotone flag represents America surrendering to its fall from power and the loss of ideals it once stood for. The American dream is being washed away. Wow, do I want to rally around that flag? We're also reimagining voting. We're reimagining the police. We've reimagined justice. We're reimagining education where the parents don't have a say. And while we're at it, why not just reimagine the entire economy? Yeah, they're doing that too. This is what the White House says, and I quote, "This is the moment to reimagine and rebuild a new economy," end quote. Oh, I thought we voted for the guy who was just going to bring things back to normal. Another example of this reimagining madness is the action from the National Archives. They've recently put a decision to slap harmful language alert on some of their collection, including the U.S. Constitution and Declaration of Independence. They're scary documents. Fortunately, Congressman Dan Crenshaw recently introduced a bill that would ban the National Archives from putting harmful content warnings on America's founding documents. Good luck to finding really any Democrats. And I bet you might even lose Mitt Romney on that one to vote over that. The fact that such a bill is even necessary tells you exactly where we are. All of this reimagining, it's happening all over the world, and it's happened before. It's happened over and over again in history, and it fails every time. Do you know why? Because what is America really? It's a group of people that agreed on certain principles, and those certain principles are that we're all the same, and we can do what we want as long as we're not hurting each other. And we got a few rules because we know human nature. So reimagining freedom and reimagining human nature, which communists and socialists and dictators do every time when they reimagine government, it's always ushered in with enthusiasm. Yay, it's reimagined. And then it ends in a lot of blood. Rinse and repeat. This happened over and over and over again, still happening. But in 1776, something else happened. America broke that cycle of abuse and created the best track record of individual freedom in history. The Constitution, you've heard this before, it's the longest running Constitution in the world. Longest running framework for any democratic republic. Yeah, that's a kind of a cool thing, but do you know how long the average Constitution lasts? Ours is almost 250 years old. The average is 17 years. Wow, ours is not just the longest, it's like in a category all by itself. Yeah, but look at slavery and segregation, war on the Native Americans and those Japanese internment camps that those Republicans probably did. No, actually, a lot of those, in fact, almost all of those were because of the Democrats. But I digress. We've had a lot of problems. But every time those problems were solved, it was solved because we went back to our founding documents. Isn't that crazy? See, the founding documents provide freedom and a roadmap, but nobody wants to read the map. It's like the country, oh my gosh, it's like the country is run by guys and no one will listen to their wife or stop and ask directions. Should have hired Hillary. The founders understood human nature. They understood their own fallibility. So they were under no illusion that this freedom experiment would be smooth sailing. We wrote in our Constitution that we were going to form a more perfect nation. That's something we're working on all the time. You know what I mean? We're not going to be a perfect nation, a more perfect nation. We, the people, established the Constitution. So I'm going to say no on the reimagining of stuff. You don't get to reimagine your best shot at securing freedom unless you have a better idea, and I'd love to hear it. But so far, you're not really sharing all of this. In fact, you're saying the Great Reset, that's crazy. That's a conspiracy theory. Keep going. Really? Why won't you show it to us? Because you know Americans and the rest of the world will reject it. You instead doubled down on the loss of rights, and you double down on saving everyone. We need to double down on our rights before it's too late. America has been asleep at the wheel, and the left has grabbed the wheel and steering us someplace spooky. Gates of hell, I think. Remember, liberty is much easier to lose than it is to regain once it's lost. Now, let me show you how we got here. Because remember, I'm going to give you a trick to where you don't even have to read that Constitution thing. Okay? I mean, it's long. So let me explain how we got there and what our rights and everything means. Back in the old days when they had the King of England, it's like the first season of The Crown. The system was God, and God selects a king. Right. So he selected a king, and then he takes all of his things that he and God only know about, and he says, government, you got to do these things because I talked to God last night, and boy, is he pissed at you. And so the government does those things, and the landowners. And then finally, at the bottom of the food chain, you. That didn't work out so well. No, a lot of people were like, hey, I don't agree with all the stuff that the king says God's telling him. I'm not so sure he's being honest. So we did two things. We had Plymouth, the Mayflower, the Pilgrims. If I need to go deeper than that, we're in more trouble than I think. And Jamestown. This is the 1619 Project, where we get to reimagine our history started there instead of here. What that was a bunch of English people coming over saying, yeah, we believe the king talks to God at night and then he tells us what to do. And he's telling us right now to come on over here and grab all this land and gold. It's going to be great. We get to keep some of it as long as we give most of it to the king. So get out there with your shovel, you. That's Jamestown. There's another group of people that actually believed in something. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The Pilgrims actually believed in socialism. They tried it for a while. They're like, we just love God. You love God. I love God. let's just put everything in a big pile and we'll only take what we need. Yeah, even the people who like really love God because I don't want to do anything that would offend God, even those people had a few people in their midst that are like, yeah, God's not looking right now. I'm taking more than I need. It didn't work, okay? Because of human nature. So they came over because they didn't believe in this, and they were driven by the Bible, which is, do unto others, that kind of stuff. Be kind to your neighbor, love your enemy, blah, 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 blah. So they had that tent pole. And because they actually believed in that, it's not like Christians today. I mean, come on. Most of us Christians are like, yeah, that's right. I don't believe in promiscuous sex or anything. The Sopranos on? They have the new prequel of The Sopranos? Yeah, anyway, I'm going to church a little later. Come on. These people are like Christians that actually believed it. And so they had another tent pole. They were the ones that were supposed to actually do things. They were the ones that were going to provide the charity for one another, check on one another. And it would all happen through their churches and as individuals. They would help each other. This generation raised another generation that actually wrote this fancy document. It's called the Declaration of Independence. Actual size, this is the real one. Anyway, so their kids, their grandkids, great-grandkids, they decided they were going to write the Declaration of Independence. Now, what is the Declaration of Independence? It's great, and it's a letter to this guy. Yes, they went over there, and they're like, yeah, that doesn't work. And so they set up their own little thing, and then a couple generations later, their kids and grandkids and great-grandkids and whoever, I'm not sure when it happened, could have happened in 1972, they all got together and said, we're going to write the Declaration of Independence. And basically what it says, first paragraph, hey, we're going to break up with you, but we should probably tell you why we're breaking up with you, because we, for some strange reason, still want to be decent people, even though you are the worst. Then it says, basically, you don't know us. We believe things that you don't believe. We believe, unlike you, because you're the only one that can talk to God, and then everything spills out of you, and we're the last. We actually think all of us can talk to God, that God created all of us equal. And none of us should, be thrown in jail for no reason. You can't just come into our house and take stuff. Just because you're the king, it doesn't mean anything. We believe that the rights come from God, and then governments are instituted by men to be able to protect those rights. So they got rid of this, and they did this. God talks to you. I'm really upset right now. And then he gives you rights, gives everybody rights, okay? Nobody has a corner on God. And he gives all of us rights. And then we create government to protect those rights. All right, so what are those rights? And is the government protecting them? And why should the government protect? We've got other important things to do. I'll explain that next. Did you know that the Social Security Administration's computer servers are 45 years old? Yeah. Computer servers at Health and Human Services are 50 years old. Sensing a pattern here that maybe government... Anyway, let me just tell you this. Cyber criminals have hacked into the U.S. Census Bureau computers. You know, the one that, has everything about you listed and everything that is stored right there in that very secure 150-year-old computer. The threat of some cyber thief stealing your credit card is a risk, but nowhere near the kind of risk where they steal everything from you. They take ownership of your home. It's called home title theft. The FBI calls it the fastest growing crime, and it's unbelievably simple. I could tell you and do a chalkboard. It'd be a very short chalkboard on how to steal people's homes, but I don't think that would be wise. I'd rather tell you, instead of being vulnerable, because it is so easy to do, and you won't know it until they're long gone, and then here comes the sheriff with a piece of paper, I can't remember what it's called, where you have to leave your home because it's not your home. HomeTitleLock.com. HomeTitleLock.com. Register your address now. See if you're already a victim and just don't know it. Use the promo code RADIO for 30 free days of protection. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code RADIO. All right, so I want to show you real quick. Remember, it started with the Bible and then responsible citizens. What a joke that is. Then the Declaration of Independence, which says we have certain inalienable rights. Nobody can change them. They come from God. And, if I may, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. That was really unheard of back then, or the dissent of the governed. So you have now God giving you rights, and you creating this government to protect those rights. Got it? And then it goes on to say, and if they ever become destructive of those rights, it's the right and the duty of those to overthrow the chains of that government. But it's got lots of caveats. You can't do it higgledy-piggledy. Can't do it. Can't do it. All right, so then what they had here was a nice little house that they built, except they needed one more cornerstone, and that cornerstone was the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Now they could build a strong house on that cornerstone. Well, that cornerstone is gone. This cornerstone is pretty gone. This cornerstone is gone. This cornerstone is gone. We had a problem because we have to have all four of these for this house to stand. All right, so let's just go on the last cornerstone, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The Declaration of Independence, all that really is that's like a mission statement. You know, Google, don't be evil. Or the United States, hey, we hold these truths to be self-evident. That's not how to build it. It's what you're trying to build, okay? The Constitution is how to build it. And then the Bill of Rights came in because they knew. They were politicians, and they were like, you know what, guys? We're going to get some really slime balls in here, and they're not going to believe any of this stuff, and they're going to change it. So we should add, and they did this a year later, we should add to that Constitution a Bill of Rights. So the government is super, super, super clear on the things that they can't do. Now, some people don't like this. Here's Barack Obama talking about the negative charter.
Generally, the Constitution is a charter of negative liberties, says what the states can't do to you, says what the federal government can't do to you, but it doesn't say what the federal government or the state government must do on your behalf. And that hasn't shifted.
Yeah, it hasn't shifted. It hasn't shifted. Although we're not paying attention to it anymore. He thinks government is the solution. Ronald Reagan said, nah, I don't think so. Here's Ronald Reagan.
Government is not the solution to our problem.
Right.
Government is the problem.
Yes. And that's what the founders believed. So they set this out and they were like, look, I just want to go through some of these for the slower kids in the class, because we know that all the slow ones are actually going to be running this stupid country at some point, and they're going to come up with all kinds of things they can do. For instance, in this Constitution here, citizens are guaranteed freedom of conscience. It's their right to profess or not profess any religion, or to conduct religious worship or atheistic propaganda. You are guaranteed privacy as a citizen and of your correspondence, telephone conversations, and telegraphic communications. It's all protected by law. Okay, that's the Soviet Union Constitution. I don't think, have you ever heard of the Stasi or KGB? I don't think they did all of that. So the Constitution is only worth what the people will stand for. That government guaranteed a lot of stuff. This one is just saying electric fence on these. For instance, the First Amendment. You don't need to be in a government-approved church. You can serve. You don't believe in God. You do believe in God. You believe God is a space octopus. Whatever, people can vote for you. B, the government can't stop the free exercise of religion. Oh, has that one been violated? The next one, this is all the First Amendment. You cannot abridge free speech. You know, it's weird. What does abridge mean? You know, like an abridged novel, it means they take out a lot of words, but you get the gist. Can't do that. They also just can't delete a bunch of words. You have the right to say whatever you want to say. You have a right to a free press. You have the right to get together with a bunch of people that you like as long as it's peaceful. You can associate with anyone. Oh, and you can question the government and kind of demand answers. That's the First Amendment. The second one is you have a right to guns, self-defense, and freedom. They can be used to protect freedom. Third is no government official can be assigned to your home. That's the quartering of soldiers thing that I hate that one. Then you have the fourth, papers, persons, house, your effects. No search or seizure unless you have a warrant. And that warrant is very specific on what you're looking for in that house. You have to say where it is, and you have to say what you're looking for and why. Kind of an important one. Then due process. You have a right to remain silent. Hey, private property can't be just taken without remuneration. You got to pay for it. The sixth is speedy trial. I get to face my accuser. I can call witnesses. And I can question the witnesses on the other side. The next one is you got a right to a jury trial. And by the way, no cruel and inhuman punishment or excessive bail. The ninth, yeah, there are other rights and they're held by the people. This is not all of them. So the people hold other rights. And then the 10th is the state also does the same thing. The state has rights. Okay, now let's go through this for a second, because this is quite interesting. If you start to look at the problems of the day, Second Amendment is a really easy one. Here's Joe Biden chipping away at the Second Amendment rights, okay, with the UN Arms Treaty and red flags for the military. I can't imagine our government saying bad things about our service personnel, can you? Anyway, it would create a global gun registry, including Americans, if you buy firearms made overseas, and a military red flag law. I don't know, that guy seems unstable. We should take his guns. Oh, okay. That's the Second Amendment. I have a right to guns and defense for self and freedom. Oh, and that one's not to be abridged. That one can't be changed. That one, there's no infringement of that one. None. Zero. Only one that says cannot be infringed. Oh, so they were pretty serious about that one. Let me go to this one. Fourth Amendment. It's so boring. Oh, papers, persons, house, effects, search or seizure. I want to show you that every problem that we have right now can be solved just by going to the Constitution. Just the Bill of Rights, not even the Constitution. Just the Bill of Rights and going, can they do that? Well, let's see. How about ICOP? You know what that is? That's the Postal Service spy program. That's a hilarious TV show waiting to be written. The U.S. Postal Service, called ICOP, which stands for Internet Covert Operations Program, they search through, that's the correct word here, search through the social media posts of Americans looking for inflammatory posts. When they found what they're looking for, the information is shared with other government agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security. They're searching through your papers, your persons, your effects, they're searching. And then what are they doing? They are looking for something to get you on. That's what this was about. The king would send these people into your home, and then he would just go through your papers and he'd look and he'd listen, see what they're saying about the king. Are they saying anything bad? Ah, ha, 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 I gotcha. That's a violation of this. You want to accuse me of something? Then accuse me of something. Show me where I'm saying it. Great. But you can't just go search everything without my permission. Oh, you want to do the banking thing where you can look at my bank and have the bank report on me? Fourth Amendment. Biden's executive order shutting down the Keystone XL pipeline. I think that one is a violation of the Fifth Amendment, private property without remuneration. You just can't do it. Let's see. Capital invaders misdemeanor sentencing. Okay, misdemeanor sentencing. They're saying that you just broke the law. It's a misdemeanor. That usually is pay a fine, but certainly not, people in jail rotting forever. Here he is, sentenced to 45 days, become January 6th, first misdemeanor defendants to get jail time. That would probably go into no cruel and unusual punishment, excessive bail, if these people are actually being held in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement is cruel and unusual punishment. You're violating that. How about this? The government has announced sweeping new vaccine mandates for businesses, federal. Wow. I don't know. Somebody with 100 employees. Let's see. Is it on here? No, it doesn't say they can't do that. But there are other rights that are given to the people and to the states. So I wonder if that's another right. See, the federal government has nothing to do with pandemics. No, the states do. The cities do. Anybody who says, I can't believe that you're going to make me have a vaccine. Well, yeah, the federal government can't do that. But this is from the comptroller of the city of Baltimore. This one was March 10th, 1873. It was written to Isaiah Ayres, and it is a check for $10. And what is it? It is for vaccine, smallpox. Smallpox and destroying the clothing of anybody who had smallpox. They had to reimburse you for that. You see, the state, the city can do that, but the federal government can't because of these two. Just because it doesn't say you can't do it, these two were put in here because, no. The state has rights. The people have rights. We can't write down everything that you could possibly do because you're all weasels. Okay, so now I promised you a way to figure out how you can figure out if the government can do this so we can stop all this stupid arguing about stupid policies. Can they do it? Yes or no? You don't even have to read the Constitution to be able to figure this one out. I love it. Next. All right. Homeowners have quite the opportunity in front of them now more than ever. You can save a ton of money when you need it most. I'm talking about hundreds of dollars a month, possibly up to $1,000 a month. All you have to do is refi your mortgage. Don't wait too long to call American Financing. You could miss out on these historically low mortgage rates because, see, the federal government in the Constitution does have a right to print money. It doesn't have the right to print endless amounts of money. In fact, in the Constitution, it's supposed to be sound money. But we lost track of those old-timey words long ago. So now we're going to hit some more trouble, like 2008, except maybe with the devil in charge. And so it's going to get pretty dicey, and it's going to get hard to get a mortgage. Please refinance your mortgage, do a consolidation loan. The people I trust that I've worked with for, 10 or 15 years, is AmericanFinancing.net. AmericanFinancing.net. Go there now, 800-906-2440. 906-2440, AmericanFinancing.net. You know, the great thing about the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, when you know you have it right, it always doesn't work out your way. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, crap, I can't do that. Yep, can't do it. And sometimes it feels really good. Let me show you an example. Here's Joe Biden talking about his job and what he's going to do with COVID and the vaccines.
My job as president is to protect all Americans.
My job as president is to protect all Americans. Now, let's go over this again. The Pilgrims came up because they didn't think the God talked to the king, God talked to you. We put that in the Declaration of Independence. God gives you certain rights, and those rights, with those rights, you establish what? A government. And that government, their job is to protect you? No. Their job is to protect those rights. In fact, his oath says his job is not to protect you, it's to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States from any dangers, foreign or domestic, right? That's his job. That's his oath that he takes, not to protect you. He can't protect you, and I'll explain why here in a second. Now, let's talk about that. That's the oath. Very few people in Washington are doing that. Very few. Now, what could the police do? This is where it gets fun, because this is where you're going to be like, oh, wait a minute. I get it. Whenever somebody says, my job is to protect you, or we've got to have this bill passed because whatever, just ask yourself a really simple question. Could I do that if I were living on Gilligan's Island? Could I do that? If the answer is no, then they can't do it either. Let me give you an example. The police. We're arguing an awful lot about what the police can and can't do. Oh my gosh. We got to reimagine those guys. So the police, their job is to protect and serve. Now, they're not the masters of you. If they were, they wouldn't be serving you. They protect you and serve. Why? Because at one point there was just a bunch of us all together and we were like in the middle of nowhere and like, you got to be kidding me. We got to cut these trees down, then make them into lumber, then build houses using pegs for nails. I'm out. Okay. There was nobody anywhere. And then there would be people that would come with nefarious purposes to that town that you had just spent all that time building it. And somebody's going to burn my house down. Somebody's going to steal my stuff. Well, I'm busy cutting more trees down for an extension because my wife wants another baby. So I'm gone. Somebody's going to steal my stuff. That's when all the guys get together and all the women got together and said, okay, we can't keep us safe and go out and get more lumber to fashion wood nails. We need to hire somebody whose job it is to keep the peace. Now, can they give that guy more power than any of them have? No, because the rights come from to, and then you can give it to somebody else to do what could do. Okay? Because there are no more rights, because he's the only source of them. So let's just take this. Let's go to, this is how you know if it's constitutional. You do the shortcut. Do I have the right to fill in the blank? Do I have the right to protect myself and others? Well, yes, you know this because this is the Second Amendment. You have a right to protect yourself and others. Do I have the right to use deadly force? Yes, I do. As long as I'm trying to protect myself or others and I fear for my life. Do I have a right to arrest and detain someone? A lot of people would say no, I guess, but you do have a right to make a citizen's arrest. I mean, good luck with that in today's world. Make a citizen's arrest and detain them while you're waiting for proper authorities. Because remember, you've given your rights, lent them to the police so the police can do those things. So we play within the rules. Bob, you're not the cop today. So you have a right to make a citizen's arrest and detain until proper authorities. Do you have the right to a trial? I mean, where you're the judge and the executioner. Now, if we were on Gilligan's Island and I'm like, the professor just killed Mary Ann. I knew it was coming. He was too tied up inside. You could get everybody together and say, we got to try him. And hopefully you would have rules like we do where it's going to be a fair trial. Okay, we have that system. So we can't do it, but we could if we were alone and we're like, that dog over there ate my homework and I'm the only person on earth. Well, I'm going to sentence you to the pound. You have that right, but not in a society where it is already set up for you and you've given those rights or lent those rights to do the trial and the execution. This is why in the Old West, string them up, because you were waiting for somebody to come. The sheriff is 3.5 months away. Well, you didn't really string them up. You waited for them to come. Do you have the right to protect everyone? See, that's what the president said. My job is to protect every American citizen. Well, let's work that one through. Do I have the right to protect everyone? No. My neighbor wanted to use a lawnmower as a fingernail clipper. I didn't see that one coming. So I guess if I want to protect everybody, there's got to be somebody else out there that is stupid enough to put their hand into a lawnmower. All right, I'm going to protect everyone. I've got to take away all the lawnmowers on Earth. No, you don't have a right to do that. You don't have a right to do that. You can't protect everyone from every eventuality. You can't protect everyone from getting sick. You can't. You can't. So you don't have the right. Do I have a right to levy tax? Well, kind of, you do. The government has the right in the Constitution to levy tax and to collect taxes. But here's where, now you might disagree with this, I don't think so, but here's where it gets dicey. Let's say you're on a street and all the neighbors, we're having a meeting and everybody's coming except for Jeb. We don't like Jeb. He's a bad neighbor. And you know what makes him bad? He makes a lot of money. And I don't like that because he's got stuff in his house that we don't have. And he lives on our street. How dare him have that stuff in his house? So you all get together and you've all decided with Jeb that you were going to levy tax. Okay? But now there's more of you, and Jeb can be there or not because he's the only one going to vote against it. You can't say, you know what, Sheriff? I want you to go over and I want you to take his stuff. I want you to take some of his money and give some of his money to us. Do you have the right to do that? No. Do you have a right to get together as a collective group and agree on taxes? Yep, you do. Do you have a right to say, take more from that guy because we don't like him than you take from us? Now that sounds unfair, doesn't it? So do they have the right to do it? They say they do, and nobody ever is going to challenge this because, what, I go to jail? Because they also have the right to imprison you if you break their little laws. But let's just look, because I'm so sick and tired of people saying, you know what, those rich never pay their fair share. I don't know. 1% pays, 40% of all taxes? The top 10% pays 60% of all taxes? What is their fair share? Can we attach a number to that? Well, they just have to pay the same amount or at least more. How come Bill Gates? I hate Bill Gates for a number of reasons, but Bill Gates, you know, he doesn't pay as much income tax as his secretary. Yeah, I do know that. Do you know why? Because Bill Gates, you know, he's kind of wealthy. And when he signs his contract, Probably not a lot of income coming his way. More of investments, stocks and bonds, okay? He defers that by putting it into stocks and bonds. He pays capital gains tax. So whatever it is that he makes, he has to pay a certain percentage, the same as his secretary. If his secretary was also investing in the market, she'd have to pay the same capital gains tax. So they pay the same on that. See, most likely Bill Gates, let's say he makes $200,000 a year, and his secretary makes $1,500 a year. She's paying more than him? Yeah, because most likely he's giving this to charity and he's living off of this. That's what happens. That's why they don't pay. You know, when they say we're going to raise it, run the rich, Bill Gates never gets his taxes raised. Never. Unless they raise the capital gains tax. You know who that gets? That gets the people who are building businesses. They can't build businesses. They like it. People like this like it that way because it traps them. You never get into the old boys club. So this one is the same on all. Sales tax, property tax. Oh my gosh, I think property tax is just immoral. I have to pay it every year, so I never really own my land. The minute I stop paying property taxes, I lose my land. Oh, and if I die and give it to my kids, you know, the leftovers that I really didn't use while I was alive, I got to pay 50% to the government? Anyway, I digress. Here's a shortcut. Does the government have the right to do it? See, that's why we have to start having that argument. Because everything, absolutely everything, is boiled down to the fact that we don't ever talk about principles. That's all this conversation should be about in this country. Hey, do you still believe in freedom of speech? No? Okay. How about freedom of press, even if you don't like what they print? No? Okay. Second Amendment? No. Third? Yeah. Of course. Fourth? Fifth? Sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. Do you believe in those? Because I believe in all of them. And that was our unum. That was the thing that brought us together. Well, we cannot come back together if we don't all agree on those things. And what's happening is, well, I'll show you in the next break, because it's a phrase that happens all of the time. All of the time. And that's what gets us into trouble. I'll show it to you next. You know, every day I jump out of bed and I think to myself, oh, another glorious day in America where I can share good news, or something exact opposite of that. But I do have a couple of happy points in my life, you know, coming home, seeing my sweetheart and my children, and if I'm going to be honest with you, 5 times a day that I stop and have a Built Bar. Now, that might be a little too much, according to some doctors, but who believes them anymore? Built Bar. They are delicious, apparently healthy. I'm more interested in the delicious part than I am in the healthy part. But it is like eating a candy bar, and you're not paying for it with the calories. They're low carb, low calorie, high fiber, high in protein. You're going to love them. You're going to love them. They have a whole bunch of different flavors. Try them. Try them. You're going to love them. BuiltBar.com. That's BuiltBar.com. Use the promo code BECK15. You'll save 15%. It's Built.com. Built.com. Use the promo code BECK15. All right. Let me give you a couple examples. Here's one of the most dangerous phrases, and we say it in America all the time. Because of fill in the blank, we must fill in the blank. Exclamation point, because it's always an emergency. Because of Pearl Harbor, we must round up the Japanese. Bad idea. Bad idea. Because of COVID, we must shut down all small businesses because only Home Depot is pure. Bad idea. Whenever there's an exclamation point at the end of something we must do, unless it's because we're in a world of hurt, we must follow the Constitution, it's going to be bad. Okay? That's why people say Congress isn't acting fast enough. In fact, the system isn't working. Well, those are two very different statements, and one of them is absolutely wrong. The other one is right, and I have a solution. The one that's wrong, Congress isn't acting fast enough. It's not supposed to. Not supposed to. The founders designed this system brilliantly. They knew people would say, because of worms, we've got to get shovels to every American. They knew that would happen. And they knew nobody makes a good idea when you're acting out of anger or fear. So the intention was to make sure everything goes at a molasses pace, which gives time for the local communities to fix it themselves, for the states to fix it themselves. Government, federal government, should be the last stop. Congress isn't acting fast enough. Nope, not supposed to. The system isn't working. Absolutely true. The system isn't working. Why? Let me show you this. Let's look at the National School Board Association scurrying to King Biden for federal protection against the threat of parents opposing mask policies and CRT. On Monday, the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, where have I heard his name before, directed the FBI to use its authority against parents who threaten or use violence against public school officials. Okay. All right, I'm fine if somebody's threatening violence or using violence to get their point across, not a good thing. But why is that the federal government's job? See, we're leaving one thing off of school boards, and that is local. Remember that part in the Bill of Rights which says, oh, and the people have rights? Oh, and the state have rights? This is a local right. That's where you call in the local police. Why don't you want national police? Well, I have ways of telling you why that might be a bad idea, yeah? Every time you ask yourself, can we do it? Does it fit into this? January 6th, we got to hold them longer. No, we don't. Don't hold them longer. That's why we have parameters. All the judges, they have this can be this sentence is up to this sentence. No more. Because then you violate the Constitution again. Learn it, begin to live it, spread it to your friends, and watch what changes. Back in a minute. Thanks for watching. Thanks so much for being a supporter of BlazeTV.com, and we'll see you tomorrow on the radio. Good night, America.